up? What up? This is 85 Yards, podcast for average sports fans by average sports fans, bringing the conversation from the bar to your speakers. Raise a glass. Let's get started.
Cheers.
How you doing, my friend?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Cheers. Good.
Actually,
good.
I'm fantastic today. Let's
See,
first.
you're
let's just
fantastic.
first go ahead and throw that out there. But go ahead.
Why are you fantastic,
No,
Ryan?
after you, because you.
I was
look
gonna say, I'm
like a fucking Sith Lord over here.
I'm playing hurt, man. I don't feel too good. I hope I ain't got the Rona, but nah, I've been
Probably do.
so good. I probably do, and I'm gonna die according to the media. So yeah, I'm hooded up today. I look like evil Belichick. I look like the Kermit the Frog meme whenever it was like the evil, like it's like me, evil me. That's what I look like right now with this hood up.
It looks like, because I can't see your actual eyes. Like literally, the only thing I see is like just your mouth and your nose,
My mouth.
and that's it.
Yes,
And then like everything else around is just this black circle. It's like shadowed, and so it just looks like I've maybe watched a couple of the Star Wars, so I couldn't even tell you who it actually is, but it's the like older guy that always has his hood down. And you can't tell what he actually looks like.
How do we both not know who this is? Is it Palpatine? Is that who that is? Anyways, he's like Darth Vader's like master.
Yeah. Whatever his name is.
Yeah, he sits
guy,
there like this.
Like.
Yes. So be it. So yeah, I don't feel good at all today. I'm very cynical. I'm very Belichickian today in my
happens.
My takes. So yeah, it happens. What are you sipping on, bro?
Well, as I mentioned, I feel great today because let's go back. Let's wind the clock back here for the last, month.
Let's wind the clocks back.
Wind them back. It's fucking Back to the Future, this motherfucker. It's been every single day, I feel like, for the last month where I wake up and my entire day, every 30 minutes or so, I pull up Twitter, refresh, see what, no news about the Big Ten. Okay, cool. Put my phone back down.
Damn, you were locked in.
Come back. Same thing.
You were locked in every 30 minutes.
Same thing for a month.
Holy shit. For a month.
And then, last week we get all this stuff about, there's, it's pretty much all confirmed now, October 7th or October 10th. And then it was October 17th. And then it was, there's going to be a vote like there has been for the last, 2 weeks or whatever. We will know by Sunday. Nope. We'll know tomorrow at the latest. Nope. Tuesday comes around. All right. It's going to be announced this evening because fucking Nebraska's president leaked it on a hot mic. And then 8 p.m. comes around, nothing. So I was like, you know what? This is almost the last day. This is it. And then I woke up today and on my way to the gym, I saw it pop up. I was like, it's here. It's back. We're back.
It's here.
So I wanted to raise a toast with my Bradshaw Kentucky bourbon whiskey.
I need some of that for my sickness.
And raise a toast to not Kevin Warren, not any of the presidents or commissioners or Donald Trump or anything like that, but to just having the Big Ten season back. So cheers. We out here.
Cheers, my friend.
Ohio State. Run the fucking table. We're doing this.
I said even a damn pandemic couldn't save Clemson from us this year.
No, it could not.
What I have equated this to is that girl that will respond to your text messages and, you've been trying to get her to go out on a date with you for, a couple months. And she'll like lead you on and kind of make you think that she's like, this is going to be the time that like you're going to get it. And, it's just blah, 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 blah. And then finally one day out of nowhere, all of a sudden you get a text message that says, hey, what are you doing? And her probably plan A and plan B fell through and you were actually plan C all along. And then it came through and then you actually get to take her out. That's what this feels like. This feels like a triumphant victory for the plan.
I feel like it looks like that, but it also looks like I've seen the messages where it's like some guy hits up this girl 10 years after high school, and it's like, oh my God, why didn't we hang out in high school? It's like, because, like, you thought I was ugly and you were too cool to like even want to talk to me or whatever. And now like that I'm hot and now that I look good, now all of a sudden it's like, oh man, like, come on, baby. We should
Come
talk
on, baby,
more.
don't do this to me.
Like, I was young. I was naive. That was so long ago.
That was a long time ago.
I'm a new man. I'm changed.
I've changed. I promise. Yeah, that's definitely what it feels like. So, it's a rejoicing day for sure. So definitely knew it had to get done this week, just logistically, to try to be considered for the CFP, because that's really all we're I feel like at this point trying to get to anyways.
Dude,
here's the thing.
Close. Like they're cutting it to the fucking wire.
Yeah, and that's what's interesting to me is that like the rest of the Big Ten is going to be like, damn it, Ohio State, you better win it for all your fans bitching as much as you did. Like, it's now kind of like, it happened, what we wanted to have happen, and now it's kind of like we're sitting there holding the bag like, well, yeah, we better win. Otherwise,
Rutgers
everybody's going to roast us.
Right now.
Yeah.
They're like, we haven't won a Big Ten game in 2 years. We didn't want to fucking play.
It's going to be 3 years at the earliest.
And then
now it's taking.
But it's pretty strict. Like, I mean, they're cutting it real close. Like, you got to play 9 games in 9 weeks. Like, there is no bye weeks. There's just, you go straight through, which, I mean, like, I looked back a couple years. I think it was 2018, maybe 2017. I looked at our schedule for Ohio State, and like there was an 8-game stretch where we played 8 straight games before the first bye of the season. So like it's happened. Is it ridiculous to think like that these college athletes can play 9 games straight? No, I don't think so. Is it ideal? Also, no. Like, because there's room if, some school, has to postpone for a week because they don't meet the requirements as stated out by the Big Ten, in their announcement today. And then you can't really move that back a week. You can't change and okay, we'll go play this school then, this week, and then we'll reschedule this one for here. So there is no shifting, which kind of puts you between a rock and a hard place. But I don't think that'll be too much of a problem. Like everybody's freaking out about the whole, it's like 5%. If 5% of the players test positive on a 7-day rolling basis, then you have to shut down. And that's like 7 players. But, the teams that are playing for a national championship haven't had players testing positive in a month. Right. My question is it 7 out of most rosters, carry 100 scholarships? I think it's like 123 or 125 or something like that. So 7's not a lot to shut it all down. I mean, that's, how these flus and stuff can run in a locker room. If one person gets sick, a lot of kids tend to get sick. But I mean, like you said, with how rigorous I was reading up on the protocol, they've got a test that if you test on Friday, 15 minutes, Yep. And then if you test positive, you take a second test to basically back that up. And it's also like it's contingent on the entire campus population too, I believe, if I read that correctly, which that's like 7.5%. And the Ohio State campus population has been at around 4 or 5% over the last 14 days. So pretty consistently. So, I mean, that's staying pretty steadily at around that number. And if you tell Ohio State students or you tell Nebraska students or, Iowa students, hey, if you want to watch us play football, you can't do shit, they won't do anything. I wouldn't think so either. There will be some off chances, but it's too much. I would think so. I think that the overwhelming majority of people are planning days around Saturday. So yeah, I would think and hope, and hey, we're at least going to give it a shot. Yeah. So that's, we'll see how it runs. We'll see how it goes. We're a month away. Though the championship schedule that they have, because they put the championship game on the 19th, the day before the selection Sunday, show, and they're doing a 1v1, 2v2, 3v3. So like every team is playing their 9th game on the 19th. And so like there's just going to be a full slate of, maybe not on that exact day, but like that weekend. So I don't know how they're going to schedule out all the games to do that. Maybe they'll separate out into domes or whatever they were planning on doing anyways. But that to me is like really interesting because it's kind of like our own conference tournament, if you will, right? And I like that. I think that's a really interesting concept.
Here's what I haven't heard many people talking about. I think this is potentially, if we can get through the season, this is potentially the biggest scheduling advantage that no one is talking about. All of these other teams are going to be wrapped up around the same time that they normally would, with a 4 to 5 week layoff before the CFP. How is that going to work out and play out if we're done the 20th and they're playing around the 1st? I think that there's no layoff there. If anything, that's going to help us if we're clicking that,
So we have
with it
like a 13-day layoff. So like, let's say if Ohio State wins the Big Ten, goes undefeated, plays in the college football playoff, they have 13 days before the semifinal games.
Right.
Alabama would finish their season in the championship game on the 11th or the 12th, sorry. Because their regular season ends on the 5th. So they would play the championship game on the 12th. And so, I mean, they would have another week layover, but it's not as ridiculous. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say normal. So it's really, so theirs getting pushed back. It's really about a week and a half difference than what we would have. My thought on that is that, how you typically have the layoff because of it being around New Year's, and these tournaments wrap up first weekend in December. You usually have 3.5, 4 weeks before. And I think that lets people kind of fall out of it.
I think too, like, are they going to go home?
Yeah,
like,
that's it. Yeah, exactly.
Over Christmas, like.
No, I don't think you do. I think they're going to tell them
that's a longer period of time for you to potentially, contract COVID and then test negative or test positive and then have to sit out. Like, it's not as strict as what the Big Ten's doing, which is 21 days.
Visiting family, going home. That's a lot of variables that you can't control if you're going back and doing whatever. Yeah. So I think you're going to see teams, especially if they've got postseason, hopes, and if they are going to be playing in a big bowl game or going to be playing in the CFP. I think coaches are going to say, "Hey, let's lock it down just for this year," and basically go from there.
To the point too, like that's why I don't think really the cases, like percentage wise, are going to be that big of a deal, because if that's what you're playing for, it's going to be a bigger deal for the teams that you're playing against if the level of competition is lower. So like, I'm more worried about, if and when we play Rutgers, are they going to be basically holding themselves to the same standards as we are? Because, they're not playing for a national championship. And that's the question. And I don't think like they don't want to play from a player and coach perspective. So I feel like they will, but that definitely like comes to question. Like, I'm not worried about the bigger schools, Penn State, Wisconsin, Iowa, Ohio State, Michigan, even to an extent. Like, they'll be fine, like locking it down. But it's the other schools that are kind of like,
That's a good point. Very good point. Because obviously the resources are lopsided for these schools. You've got your top end, Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State, Wisconsin, like those teams that bring in a lot of revenue. Rutgers football probably doesn't have the same amount of, revenue that they can kick toward COVID precautions and testing and just making sure that everybody's there. So like it is an imbalance, I should say, of resources that, like you said, that could potentially affect us because we're playing them. That puts us at risk in that.
Like you said, Ohio State better win the championship. And if they're hoping for Ohio State to win it, because that's a lot of money coming in for the Big Ten, and all that gets split evenly. So we're family here.
We all family. It's we are family. So there is
put that song in at that point.
You gonna interject it?
That would be very illegal.
there's hey, there is no more pressure. I think there's more pressure on us to win for sure with the Big Ten coming back. I mean, like we had talked about a little bit, like for mostly Ohio State fans clamoring to bring it back because we know what we have this year and we have a legitimate shot to win the title. That being said, it's kind of just like, well, it's like the parent that gives up, like whenever they've just been nagged all day by their kid and they just give in. And it's just like, you better do what it is you're asking me to do.
Like there was a screenshot of the announcement with like, it was like Kevin Warren in one corner and, what's his name? Barry Alvarez was on there and like a couple other people like involved in the decision. And like, you just saw Kevin Warren's face and he was just like he just had his lips closed as tight as they could possibly go and just looked like he was upset.
Very upset. Yeah. I'm upset.
So who knows? But it's back. We'll see what actually happens when they release a schedule. I'm not really.
Have they given a timetable of?
They said this week for the schedule.
This week, okay.
But I'm not. I mean, they released a schedule and 6 days later closed it down. So I'm not until I see a game actually be played. That will always be something that
the back of
that stops. Like they could pull it at any time if they really, decided to. But anyways, that aside, that's what has me elated today. But
I'm glad you're having a good day.
But there's something, and we talked. We're gonna change the structure of the show a little bit.
I love it.
But there's something.
In a very cynical mood today. Yeah. Ryan drops this on me. It's a great idea. He got a big response from me. So I love this idea.
There's just something that's been kind of eating at me. And like I'm not really a huge NBA fan. I like to follow the league or the association, if you will. As a whole, I don't really have a team that I cater to or fall to a year in, year out. It was the Thunder for a period of time.
Thunder for a bit. Yeah. You tend to, LeBron. I mean, you do tend to gravitate to where LeBron goes. Now, I wouldn't necessarily say you're like a Lakers fan. Wouldn't say you were a Heat fan. You like the Cavs. Cleveland.
I want to see LeBron do well.
How connect?
Like I want to see LeBron do well because I think it's unique. It's rare that in any lifetime you see like somebody that is considered the greatest at their sport.
Exactly.
Or can be considered the greatest at their sport.
Yeah, I respect that. So what's got you up in an uproar? I like this. We're going to start, week in, week out, taking a topic from the sports week that mind boggles us. We don't understand. It's controversial. Ryan's got a good one. Let's hear it, man. So, what's got you going nuts from last night?
After the Raptors won the NBA Finals, there's a lot of talk. Kawhi's going to go to an LA team, Lakers. It was released as the Lakers. And then all of a sudden he signed with the Clippers. But why did he sign with the Clippers? Because they sold not just the house, right? The Clippers didn't just sell the house. They sold the house. They sold the farm. They sold the township that existed around it. And they sold the whole fucking state.
The timeshare down in Florida.
Yes. They sold every possible thing, probably even their souls, to get Paul George from the Oklahoma City Thunder and to have him sign, because I get it. You're not going to get Kawhi if you don't get Paul George. He needs somebody to come along with him. Otherwise, he's not signing with you. You really wanted Kawhi, so you have to find a way to get Paul George. I get it. Paul George is not that good. He's a good regular season player. We've talked about this, but he is not that good when it comes time to actually do something. He's not clutch. He's never been clutch. He's just been a consistent player in the NBA. That's fine. But I'm not giving up 5 first-round picks. 5 and
5.
And like at the time, maybe this made sense. So, you also trade Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I don't even know how to pronounce his name. I think that's
Shea.
What it looks like.
Yeah.
Shea.
It's Shea. Yeah.
Shea. Thank you for correcting me. And
I was going to let it go, but
Gallinari, alongside 5 first-round picks, in
5
in 2022, 24,
5.
Yeah, correct.
I just have to keep saying it. 5.
And so 2022, 24, and 26, as well as the 2 first-round choices via Miami in 2021 and 2023. So for the next, what is that? At least for the next 4 years, you have 2 first-round picks. And then for one extra, you skip a year and then you get another one after that. And then also they get to decide, the Thunder can trade picks with them in 2023 and 2025.
2 starters, plug and play starters immediately.
If the Clippers wind up losing Kawhi in 2 years, which they very well could, and they're horrible again, like they were for their majority of their existence, then those picks look real fucking good.
They look really good.
And Shai Alexander, right?
Shai.
God damn it. I can't get this right.
It's okay.
Shai Alexander and Gallinari both averaged 19 points last year.
They played really well last series too. Young guys that are playing well in playoff
the leading
games.
Scorer on the team for the year. And then Paul George averaged 21.
Yeah.
So like it's an improper trade-off.
If you call the Thunder right now and just say, "Hey, remember that deal that we did last year? Like, let's just act like it never happened." They would laugh you off the phone.
Dude, like they probably called after Game 7 last night and just laughed.
I would
like hysterically laughed, and then the Clippers probably hung up. They called him back and just kept laughing, and they did that throughout the entire night. They started leaving voicemails because they wouldn't pick up anymore because they were just laughing at them. Because Paul George went into a Game 7 elimination game and put up 10 points. 10 points on, what was it? 4 of 16 shooting.
2 of 11 from 3.
2 of 11 from 3. 18%
and
from 3.
5 turnovers too.
Absurd. Like, he is a very good player. Don't get me wrong. But he is not a clutch player. He is not the player to put alongside Kawhi that's going to lead you to the promised land. He's not going to win you a championship. He's just not.
I couldn't agree more with this take. So Paul George, bad. The other thing, Paul George doesn't get any. Paul George played very bad in that first round series as well against Dallas. He had one good game in Game 5.
Pretty much every series. He's had good games, yes, but for the most part, fairly bad.
There's a term that we have for people in the gambling betting community or in the high stakes community. And that term is a piker. And when you look up the term of a piker's somebody who is real good whenever the stakes are low. But when the stakes get high and there's a bunch of pressure put on them, they choke every time. I made the comment to some buddies that I thought Paul George was exactly that in Game 4 of the first round. Now, he made me look dumb whenever he came out and dropped, he dropped like 34 in Game 5, played really well. And then he's just right back to where it is in this round here. He's like you said, when has Paul George ever done anything but show some promise? Now, people will say, oh, what about those Pacers series whenever he was super young when they played the Heat? Look at the team that was around him with Roy Hibbert. They had, it was obviously, and Paul George was the up and coming star on that team, but it was Roy Hibbert, David West. Yeah. He just had a bunch of rim protecting dudes behind him. Their point guard was George Hill, and then their 3 was Danny Granger. I mean, that's a squad right there back in the day.
Solid. I mean, they're role players, but they all know exactly the role that they need to fill, and they do that. And that allows a superstar like Paul George to be able to, do whatever he needs to do or whatever he can do without having to worry about, okay, I've got to do something that
Mm-hmm.
not accustomed to, or I've got to be put out of my comfort zone in a way that I haven't been before.
So all-time bad performance by Paul George. I
Like,
equally.
If you're the Clippers, like, I don't know what you do.
Yeah,
Because,
equally as bad from Kawhi Leonard.
Correct.
6 of 22 for 14 points. Kawhi Leonard's plus minus on the floor. For those who don't know, plus minus is how'd your team do whenever you were in the game? How during whatever minutes and whatever stretch you played, what was the score while they were on the court? Minus 21 in the 44 minutes Kawhi Leonard was on the court. They actually did better with it, better than him. The 4 minutes he was off the court. I that can't happen. 2 of 7 from 3.
If you're if like people argue that you're the best player in the league, at the very least 2, 3, at your 3 at the very like bottom, if that's the case, right? You play better than that.
For sure.
Like, I get it, you have off nights, it happens, but even on your off nights, that's not an off night. That's terrible. Like, you can't do that.
Very, very bad.
I don't know if it's just disinterest, like, because, I look back at last year with the Raptors, he didn't play like that in a single game.
Look at that Raptors.
But that's part of it, right? Is in a single game
look at that
postseason,
team.
He didn't play the way that he played last night. In an elimination game, to say the least. Like, I don't know. Like, I feel like there's almost like a level of disinterest, and I feel like part of that is he wanted something in going to the Clippers, and he didn't get it because he got Paul George.
When I look at that Raptors team without Kawhi made it to a Game 7 in the Eastern Conference semis with that team. Mm-hmm. And so you add him to that team. Yeah, I get how they won a title. Yeah. That's a really good squad with Siakam and Van Vliet and Lowry and Ibaka and Marc Gasol. I mean, like, that's a good team. And so with him, I don't want to hear the chemistry things, because here's the reason. I don't want to hear the chemistry talk that they didn't have enough time to gel whenever Kawhi Leonard is the number one leading player in this load management movement of wanting to take nights off. You know how you get better playing with guys? You play with guys every night you can. And so that's ultimately it's kind of like they deserve all of the criticism they're getting. Here's the other thing too. Nobody's really saying this. Doc Rivers, and I think everybody just loves him because he won that title in Boston. But what's Doc Rivers done without Kevin Garnett and Paul Pierce? You know
what he's done? He's lost this now. I think his 4th loss in a 7-game series when leading 3-1.
That, I mean, like, you can yell at the players and they take the majority of the blame, as they should. How do you not say anything about the coaching? Because I think he was way too lenient on the players and wasn't focused on getting them all, cohesively together, as the season progressed.
Yeah. And like, I don't know. I feel like Doc Rivers kind of gets a pass just because he's Doc Rivers, like,
right.
I think he has and should have a lot of respect in the league. Because of the way that he has coached historically. But you're right. Like, when he coached the Celtics, I mean, you have the truth, Paul Pierce, who's a Celtic lifer, and
Ray Allen.
Well, yeah, but I'm leaning more. I mean, Paul Pierce was kind of the anchor.
Okay.
In that big 3, right? And like, he is basically going to do whatever you say, right? Because you've worked with him for years, like one-on-one. Like, he's been the guy on your team for how many years, right? How many years he'd been in the league. And then now you add in Ray Allen, you add in Kevin Garnett, and you have that rock for those other players to rely on, like go to, then yeah, you can coach better because now they're going to listen to you more because they are also here for Paul Pierce. You know what I mean? Like, the players all have a relationship together, And if you as a coach are not involved in that relationship as the players are, then some players will listen to you and some won't. Right? With the Clippers, that really didn't happen. You picked two superstars to come to the team that have never played together. And yeah, they may be close. But although I don't think anybody's fucking close with Kawhi, like he doesn't talk to anybody.
Right. Yeah. He's not exactly the most vocal,
right.
easy guy to bond with.
But how do you coach that? And if you can't coach that, it gets very much shown when you absolutely get blown out in a game 7.
Yeah. Well, and the fingers get pointed a lot. Winning cures everything. You don't even bring these things up if you win. And that's the issue that comes down to it here. Is like you said, this is just it's Kawhi and Paul George deserve the finger pointing today, and they've deserved every bit that they've gotten for the series collapse. You got to look at Doc Rivers too. I mean, that's you have to. That was my main takeaway as well. Like you said, that's a big stat, knowing that that many series he's lost either 3-1 or 3-2. That's insane. I mean, that's just, that comes down to how well are you coaching these teams up? Your gut feeling, do they make changes or do they try to run it back next year with the same squad?
I think they run it back. I think the thought is going to be you're better after a full year together. Mm-hmm. It's kind of the same mentality I had when the Heat lost to the Mavericks in their first year together. It is a feeling out. There is a feeling out to that entire process. And so, like, I think you just bring it back. You hope it goes better. But I still think you get the same Paul George.
I agree.
I called it.
Well, can you really get better at being clutch? That's kind of that's my question is that, like, we know what you're getting during the regular season. He's going to carry the load. He's going to be one of the 15, probably 10, 15 is probably a good spot. 15 best players in the NBA. And so you know where you're getting there. None of that matters when you get to the playoffs. Who's got that dog? Who's got that next level? Who's willing to go to battle with you? I think Kawhi is that guy. Having said that, like you said, he's not LeBron. He ain't LeBron. No. And so, is he going to be a Hall of Famer? Absolutely. But, is Kawhi Leonard, is he in that GOAT conversation? You got to look at Kawhi Leonard's career. I mean, those Spurs teams, he wasn't the best player. It was Duncan, Parker, and Ginobili whenever he was super young. He did the season you can't take away from him last year with Toronto. That was a great season. He played great. They dethroned the Warriors.
Did play well with the Spurs.
Very well in the playoffs.
And with the Spurs, particularly in the playoffs, particularly too. Mm-hmm. Was it his second year when he came in and he was matched up on LeBron and was arguably the best defender against LeBron all season.
Right.
Which is hard to do. But at that young of an age, that's kind of when, and I think honestly that maybe that like fucked him up, because now he has that kind of like bar set before him. Mm-hmm. And if he falls anywhere short of that, it's a complete miss, he may have gotten elevated just being on 2 championship teams there and then getting his own ring. Like, maybe he wasn't ever going to be, but like he got elevated because of all the winning that he did early in his career. It could push him to that level. He'll be one of the best 20 players of all time, probably. But to say that he's going to be in the top 5 to 10, that's just not the case. I mean, he does so many things very well, but I would agree. I think they run it back. I think they're going to just chalk this. Everybody in every sport is going to get a pass this year because of the pandemic. Like, well, just throw that year away. There was so many things that we had going on. There were so many things, blah, blah, blah. So, like, if they were going to do it and choke, this was the year to choke because they can point their finger to something. They had better get to the Western Conference Finals next year. But can you really point your fingers at that if everybody has the same shit to deal with?
I agree. I totally agree. I think that's what's going to save a lot of coaches' jobs this year in professional sports. Of that, like, what were we supposed to do? We had a pandemic. Like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I agree with you. Everybody's playing from the same set of rules. Yeah. So I agree with you on that. Okay. So That's what's grinding Ryan's gears. The five first round picks: Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Danilo Gallinari for Paul George. That's one for the ages. That's potentially one of the worst deals I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's up there.
Your boy. Controversial statement topic here. Tom Bartholomew Brady is done. Stick a fork in him. He's absolutely done. I don't know. It sounded like that would be his middle name, like Thurgett or some kind of like.
I wonder what his middle name is now.
I'm gonna look this up. Yeah, what is it? Tom Joseph? Let me see this. It's probably something powerful.
Thomas
would be my guess.
Thurgood Brady.
I'm looking it up right now in real time.
It's probably just like Michael.
Oh my God, Thomas Edward Patrick Brady Jr.
He's a junior.
Wow.
Did not know he was a junior.
He's a junior. Thomas Edward Patrick Brady. Wow. Okay. About country club names.
He's not even the best Tom Brady because he's a junior.
He's a junior. Yeah, he ain't even a senior. Tom Brady. I watched most of that Buccaneers and Saints game. I'm not huge into stats. I'm one of these guys. Like you have to, like anything else, take in as much information as you can. So I absolutely will look at these analytic guys. I will look into stats, etc. Eye test shows me a lot. So looking at the box score for Brady on Sunday, 23 of 36, 240, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. He had a quarterback rating of 34.5. The stats look better than what that game showed. Brady, one of his picks was probably the worst throw I've ever seen that was taken back and housed. He stared the receiver down. It was something you see in high school where you lock onto that first read, you just sit there and throw it. Now, Brady fans are going to say, oh, limited OTAs, new system, new coach, new weapons, etc. That's the reason. Overall, I thought the Buccaneers defense played pretty well, giving up 34 points. Again, I'm not saying that, it's a flawless performance or anything like that. I'm just looking at what Brady looked old. Brady was very slow. Brady got sacked 3 or 4 times, was not getting the ball out quick like he had in New England. And so this is interesting. And what I'm going to equate this to is Brady and Belichick divorced. So Brady's the hot wife. Brady leaves. He's younger. He's looking good. You know what? I'm going to go move to Florida. I'm going to move to Florida with your money. I'm going to go down there and I'm going to shack up with somebody new. Me and Bruce Arians. We're going to get together. We're going to make big time plays. I'm leaving there. I'm going to leave you in the north. And Belichick says, hey, that's fine. Me and Cam Newton got a thing going on. I'm going to bring Cam Newton up here. In the short term, I thought for this season, Brady's going to win the divorce. Brady's going to, at the end of the day, they're going to win 10 games, get in the playoffs. And he could. He could. But here's the thing. He's going to win it in the short term. But what's going to happen whenever Belichick gets one of these, they're going to not necessarily tank. They're going to get their quarterback of the future. And in 3 to 4 years, when Brady's done and they have no quarterback of the future for the Buccaneers, Belichick's going to be sitting back there like the master that he always is. The Sith Lord, Belichick, over here. The Sith Lord making plays, and he's going to win the marriage. What are your thoughts overall on the Saints Bucks? What are your thoughts about Brady?
I mean, breaking news. Tom Brady is fucking old. Okay, so
we looked 43.
He's 43, playing football. He's like the second most at large age bracket for death from COVID. So that's good.
Right. He needs to be concerned.
He should be concerned, yes. But I don't know, did he look good? No. Do I think he's still going to be I still fall back to he has options. I still fall back to I don't see him. I think any fucking quarterback you put back there with Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, Scotty Miller showed out in the slot. You've got Leonard Fournette, you've got LaShawn McCoy, and you have a decent enough defense to prevent teams other than the Saints from scoring 34 points.
Right.
Like, you stand a chance to win a lot of games. Are you going to win a championship? Maybe not, but they have a lot of weapons. And, like, yes, he's old, but he is also still, to me, probably, I mean, the best quarterback I've ever seen.
He's the best of all time.
I don't think you can deny that he's the best of all time. Browns are pretty loaded. You can't deny that's one of the best rosters on paper.
The Browns, very superior roster top to bottom. Baker Mayfield has to know, if I can't make it work, since he ain't coming after him like Baltimore. Baltimore's one of the 2 or 3 best teams in the NFL. So
I was positive at halftime. I was like, it was 10-6 at halftime. I was like, cool. Yeah, 10-6 against the Ravens. Dope. Awesome. We're playing well. We got this. And then nothing.
There's a difference. Week 1, I get it. Baker, the pressure is on Baker, but I also think Myles Garrett and the boys are going to get after and make Joe Burrow uncomfortable all night. I do like the Browns a lot tomorrow night. I'll sell it all though if they can't pull it out.
I've said it numerous times, but I will cease being a Browns fan if they do that. But I know I won't. It's too ingrained in me.
I was watching with a bunch of Bengals fans on Sunday, and they kept saying, they're like, I'm picking a new team. And then later that night, they sent me text messages, and they were like, why'd we have to lose? They were like,
that's the life of a Browns fan. It's the life of a Browns fan. You just witnessed it in a less than 24-hour span, but that is 100% the life of a Browns fan.
Damn, what we lose. I'm sad. That's
it's
basically
awful. It's an awful existence, and yet here we are.
Gotcha. You, by the way, just because it was a winner last week, they won outright too with my Cardinals. Hey, Vikings getting 3 points against the Colts in this doesn't make any sense at all. I mean, I have no clue. So Vikings +3 is my pick for this weekend. I'm just going to get them documented. Want to know,
My pick is, actually I had 2 picks because I was torn.
So you ended on a push, right? You got a push last week.
Yep. I think I'm going to go with Giants +5.5.
Like it. Like it a lot.
I don't think the Bears played well. I think Detroit gave that game away. And I think the Giants actually looked pretty good. They looked solid. They lost, but they looked solid.
I'm big on buying teams when nobody wants them.
Yep.
And everybody's going to be like, oh, Giants on the road. Big Ben put up 3 touchdowns, blah, blah. I thought they looked good too. Oh, they look really good Monday night.
You know what my backup was?
What was your backup?
Jags +9.
Really? I kind of don't hate that either.
9 is a lot. That's the only reason I really liked it, was 9 is a lot. And
9's a lot. And emotional win for the Titans.
I don't think the Jags played bad enough to warrant that. Nor do I think that the Titans played good enough to warrant that.
Yeah.
And I think that combination... +9 doesn't make sense to me.
I was dragging yesterday because I stayed up till 2 a.m. watching that Titans Broncos game. And it was the ugliest good football game I've ever seen. I
will say.
6. Yeah.
Steven Gostkowski missing those field goals, though, saved my fantasy win. Because I ended up winning. In for you? Because I was going up against Gostkowski, and I ended up winning by 0.48 points.
Jeez.
And if he misses one less of those field goals, then I lose. So thank you, Steven Gostkowski, Fantasy Gods, for providing me with the fruitfulness of multiple missed field goals. Didn't get to everything we wanted to today, but that is quite all right. We got to the 2 main points, which are, Paul George is fucking terrible. And Tom Brady's done. He's old. And Che Booty, always look forward to talking to you. We are 85 Yards. Thank you. Check us out at 85yards.co. Check us out. And as Chayton's fridge comes on, it makes loud fucking noises. Make sure you like, subscribe, download, comment. comment, do whatever the hell you want for our podcast. Anything helps. So we appreciate you guys listening. And until next time, cheers.